Hi, folks. This is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report. I want to tell you about a time that I just went out and the story that comes with this. I just went to one of my favorite places that I've been fishing since I was a young adult. Since I got out of the service, I was going to college to finish my degree in Potsdam, and I had this place along the St. Lawrence River that was one of the best places I've ever fished. I would catch northern pike and bass. Every year I would go there, and I could wait. Well, I went there this last week. I hadn't fished it all summer long, and it has grown up with so much weed cover that in the summer it's really difficult. But most of the weeds are gone now, so I started my trek wading through there. And I waded, and I cast nonstop. And it takes me about 2 hours to wade the whole length of this finger of water that comes in all the way out to the St. Lawrence. Nothing. I was using my best spinnerbait, not one strike from a pike or a bass. And honestly, I'm thinking, I don't think there's any in here. I don't. And then all of a sudden, as I'm thinking that, bam, I get a strike. And I bring it in. I think, okay, I've got a good bass. I got something. And lo and behold, it's a really big yellow perch. I'm going to say it was at least a foot long. And it hit this double willow leaf spinnerbait that is the size I use for pike and big bass. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Well, perch are a school fish. There's never going to be just one perch in any area. The perch were in there because there must have been a school of bait in there. So I think, okay, now if I could only catch more, I cast and cast, not a strike. So I go in my pockets, and I hadn't taken much with me, but I found a little bitty spinnerbait. And I put a little bitty bit of soft plastic minnow on the back of it, and it was white. And I thought, okay, now I'm going to catch perch. Now I'm going to get them. I could see little dimples in the water because there was no wind, and I knew those dimples meant that there was bait fish moving in there. And that's why the perch were there. And I cast and cast and cast and never got a strike. I did catch, using that little bitty spinnerbait, I did catch 2 largemouth bass, and they were both small. They were smaller than the perch, but that was it. So I come home, and I call my buddy Dave, who was down in Cayuga Lake and has been fishing perch. And I said, Dave, this is what happened. Tell me, what am I doing wrong? Why didn't I catch more perch? He says, well, I got to tell you, first of all, because Dave has been fishing perch a lot this summer. And he says, I've had very little luck catching the perch on artificials. He says, I catch most of my perch on either flathead minnows or bacon fat. And we've talked about this one earlier, a month or two ago. I told you about the story of Dave using bacon fat. But he said I said, have you tried Berkeley Gulp? Little Berkeley Gulp minnows? He said, yeah, and not much. It's the flathead minnows or the bacon fat. So again, that's Dave's story. That's my story because I was unsuccessful catching more. That big perch I caught was not alone. And that could be just as much fun as anything. If I could go back there and have the right bait, maybe a piece of bacon fat or a minnow, and be able to wade through there with my ultralight and catch perch, I'd be just as happy as if I was wading with a big spinnerbait and catching pike and bass. Fish are fish, and maybe I'm getting more like a kid, but I enjoy catching little ones sometimes just as much as the big ones. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report.